So, guys, there is a news article about Toni Storm and mentioning that she is retiring. And she was interviewed by a person from CB Nation, and she was saying that, because of recent losses in CMLL, AEW, and in New Japan, that, she's thinking about retiring. And then also she's making some jokes. She's playing like her actress character. And I think it's very evidential to everybody that, obviously she is not retiring. And this really almost seems like just like what happened with Billy Gunn a few years ago. Like, this is kind of like, a hoax retirement type of thing, really, or just like, I want one more shot at glory. Unfortunately, this is a little bit repetitive because you just had the Bryan Danielson, just saying that he's not, he's going from, what's the word, from full-time, he's retired as a full-time wrestler, and now he's a part-time wrestler. So I really think that, Toni Storm is doing something where she's saying that she's retiring because she doesn't like her quality. You did that with Billy Gunn. So it's a little repetitive with the retirement storylines. And I also think the other thing, too, is that, for right now, as I've said, that AEW is struggling a lot. So you recently had Kenny Omega say, I do not, I want to do my return to wrestling at a show in Japan and wrestle, a wrestler that nobody knows about. And now you had Toni Storm saying, no, she's thinking about retirement. So consistently getting this bombardment of bad news is not good for the company unless it's a huge swerve where you have a bunch of, you have Kenny Omega and a bunch of other appearances, unless they're trying to swerve you. But it's not good, really. And then the other thing, too, is that this whole Mariah May and Toni Storm storyline, it's old. It's old, and it really, really needs to stop. And you can't keep circling back to it, because the problem is if you keep doing that, what happens is that, it just runs its course. It's like the bloodline in WWE. After 3 or 4 years, it just has to die, and you have to move on to the next thing. The next thing that I want to say is also, too, that I think they're going to try to extend this Mariah May to Toni Storm thing out to Australia, because Australia is their next really big show. So, they're going to do that, but it's also going to be, a little bit of a bad thing because, again, this has been going on for like over a year, maybe I think almost 2 years, year and a half or almost 2 years. But this whole Toni Storm, like this starlet thing, as I said, just like Orange Cassidy, it gets to a point where you have to change the character, and she needs to change her character. What I like about Toni Storm is that I think that she does an excellent job of mixing comedy and seriousness, and when you see some of the violence that happens that really you don't expect, really, she comes off as a full package. She's not Mr. Comedy Kicks, where everything that you do has to be comedy. So I really like that. Toni Storm is a wrestler, really. But I do think that this retirement thing is stupid. I really think that, yes, it's obviously a way to get attention on herself. And it's also a little weird, too, because I think that it would work better if Mariah May was having a match at Full Gear and then this thing was coming out. What's her commentary on this? That would make more sense. So, again, it comes off as having an idea and then maybe not having an editor there to say, okay, how do we make this make sense? How do we kind of transition it with other things that are going on, such as your women's division, But I think that an announcement of retirement is not good for AEW, even if it is a tease, because as I said, Kenny Omega doesn't want to be there. Now Toni Storm is saying that she's done with the company. Doesn't look good when these are your top draws. And then also, too, it's repetitive if it's a storyline, and it really sounds like a storyline type of thing, really. So it's very repetitive because, wasn't last month in October you were having Bryan Danielson advertise himself as a wrestler that's now a part-time wrestler or permanently retired. So it's too repetitive.